Imagine a world without light at night, without music recorded for everyone to hear, without movies to entertain and inspire. Now imagine one person changing all of that simply because he refused to give up, because he asked questions no one else dared to ask, and because he worked harder than anyone thought possible. That person was Thomas Edison, a boy who struggled in school, faced many failures, and yet became one of the greatest inventors the world has ever known. This is not just a story about machines, bulbs, or batteries. It is a story about curiosity, persistence, and courage. Edison teaches us that greatness does not come from luck or privilege. It comes from asking why and what if, and then having the courage to try again and again, even when the world doubts you. So let this story inspire you. Let it remind you that no challenge is too big, no failure too final, and no dream too impossible. Every great idea starts with curiosity. Every great life starts with a single step, and sometimes that step can change the world. And as you are reading this in English, remember this. Learning a language is just like inventing. At first, it feels difficult. Mistakes will happen, but every new word you learn is a small invention of your own, a light bulb switching on in your mind. Like Edison, keep going, keep trying, and never give up. If he could change the world with persistence, you can master English the same way, step by step, word by word. Part 1. Early Years, 1847 to 1859. Thomas Edison was not born famous. He did not come into the world with wealth or power. He was born like any other child, in a small town, in a simple family. Yet this boy grew up to change the world with his ideas. His story shows us that greatness can come from the most ordinary beginnings. Thomas Alva Edison was born on February 11, 1847, in the town of Milan, Ohio, USA. His family was not rich. His father, Samuel Edison, worked different jobs to support the family, and his mother, Nancy Edison, had once been a school teacher. They had 7 children, and Thomas was the youngest. Life was not always easy. Money was sometimes short, and the family had to move more than once to find better opportunities. As a child, Thomas was curious, but also different from other children. He asked many questions, sometimes too many for adults to answer. People often thought he was strange or slow because he did not always learn in the same way as others. In fact, his teachers in school found him difficult to manage. One teacher even called him addled, which means confused or not smart. But his mother believed in him. She pulled him out of school and taught him at home. This decision was one of the most important in Edison's life. His mother gave him books to read and encouraged him to explore the world in his own way. Thomas loved reading, but more than that, he loved experimenting. He wanted to know how things worked. When he was only a child, he set up a small laboratory in the basement of his family's home. He collected bottles, chemicals, and simple tools. With these, he began to perform little experiments. Sometimes they failed, sometimes they made a mess, but they always taught him something new. This curiosity became the seed of his future success. But Thomas also faced struggles. At the age of 12, he began to lose his hearing. Doctors were not able to help him, and his hearing grew worse over time until he was almost completely deaf. For many children, this would have been a disaster. But for Thomas, it became a strange gift. Because he could not hear well, he was less distracted by noise. He learned to focus deeply on his experiments and ideas. At the same time, Thomas was also working hard. He sold newspapers and candy on trains to help his family earn money. He even started his own little newspaper, printed right inside a moving train, the first of its kind. This showed that even as a young boy, he was not only curious but also creative and entrepreneurial. By the end of his early years, Thomas Edison had already shown signs of the great inventor he would become. He was curious, hard-working, and not afraid of failure. He had a mother who believed in him, and he never let his struggles stop him. His story reminds us that greatness is not about being born perfect. It is about being curious, never giving up, and always trying again. Part 2. Formative Education and Self-Learning. Some people believe that you need the best schools, the best teachers, and the best grades to become successful. Thomas Edison's story proves this is not true. Edison had very little formal schooling, but he became one of the greatest inventors in history. His education came not from classrooms, but from curiosity, self-learning, and the powerful support of his mother. Edison only went to school for a few months. His teachers thought he was slow and could not learn like the other children. In fact, one teacher even called him stupid. Imagine being a child and hearing such a hurtful word. Many children would give up, but Edison was lucky his mother did not accept this view. She believed in her son's intelligence. She decided to teach him at home, where he could learn at his own pace and in his own way. At home, Edison's mother, Nancy, gave him freedom to explore. She let him read books that interested him. She encouraged his endless questions and did not laugh at his strange experiments. Instead, she saw his curiosity as a strength. She once told him, "You will become a great man if you keep learning." These words gave Edison the confidence he needed. Edison's love for reading grew quickly. He read anything he could find: science books, history, and even works of great scientists like Michael Faraday. He was especially drawn to books about electricity and chemistry. These books opened new worlds in his mind. He was not just reading. He was imagining, connecting ideas, and thinking about how to test them. But Edison was not the kind of learner who could sit still and read all day. He wanted to do experiments. He set up a small laboratory in the basement of his home, filling it with bottles, chemicals, and wires. He called it his laboratory of wonders. Of course, many of his experiments went wrong. Some caused small explosions, and his mother often had to deal with smoke or strange smells in the house. Still, she never stopped him. She knew failure was part of learning. One day, young Edison read about how birds hatch from eggs and wondered if he could speed up the process. He sat on some eggs himself, trying to warm them with his own body. Of course, the experiment failed, but it showed how serious he was about testing ideas. His curiosity had no limits. Edison's style of learning by reading widely and experimenting constantly became his true education. He taught himself far more than any school could have offered at that time. His self-learning built the foundation for his future inventions. By the end of his childhood years, Edison was no longer just a boy who asked too many questions. He was becoming a thinker, a dreamer, and a problem solver. His story shows us that education is not only about classrooms and teachers. Real education comes from passion, curiosity, and the courage to learn on your own. Part 3. First Jobs and Telegraph Operator Years. Success never comes overnight. Before Thomas Edison became a famous inventor, he worked many small jobs. These jobs may have seemed simple, but they taught him important lessons about hard work, creativity, and business. They also gave him his first chance to invent something new. At just 12 years old, Edison started working on the trains that ran between towns. He sold newspapers, candy, and snacks to passengers. He was not just earning money, he was learning how to talk to people, how to sell, and how to think like a businessman. He quickly realized that he could do more than just sell newspapers. He could make his own. Edison convinced the train officials to give him a small space on the train where he could set up a printing press. Imagine that a boy printing his own newspaper inside a moving train. He called it the Grand Trunk Herald. The newspaper contained local news, train schedules, and even stories about accidents or events on the railway. Passengers loved it, and Edison made good money. This was his first real invention, not a machine, but an idea, using the train to deliver news quickly. His time on the trains also gave him more chances to experiment. He carried chemicals and tools with him so he could work on small science projects during quiet moments. Of course, this sometimes led to trouble. Once, one of his experiments caused a fire in the baggage car. The conductor was furious and kicked him off the train, along with his chemicals and equipment. But Edison did not give up. Even when his experiments caused problems, his passion never stopped. Soon after, Edison began training as a telegraph operator. Telegraphy was the main way people sent messages quickly over long distances in those days. Messages were sent as electrical signals through wires and translated into letters and words using Morse code. At first, Edison learned the job to earn a living, but it turned into one of the most important experiences of his life. Working with telegraphs gave Edison valuable technical skills. He learned how electricity moved through wires. He understood how signals could be changed, improved, and repaired. He practiced for hours, becoming so fast at Morse code that he could take down messages with both hands at the same time. More importantly, the telegraph showed him how technology could connect people and change society. Edison also began to invent new ways to improve telegraphs. He created devices that could send more than one message at a time over the same wire, which was a major improvement for businesses. These early inventions made him stand out among other operators. By the end of these years, Edison was no longer just a curious boy with a love for books and experiments. He had become a creative worker, an entrepreneur, and a skilled technician. Selling newspapers taught him business. Printing his own paper showed his creativity. Working with telegraphs gave him the technical knowledge he would use for bigger inventions later. His early jobs may have seemed small, but they built the foundation for his future greatness. Part 4. The young inventor emerges. Every great journey begins with small steps. For Thomas Edison, those steps were not always easy. His first inventions were not successful, but they taught him powerful lessons about failure, persistence, and the importance of creating things that people truly need. After working as a telegraph operator, Edison wanted to do more than just send messages. He wanted to invent machines that could improve life. In 1869, when he was only 22 years old, he received his first patent for an electric vote recorder. This device allowed lawmakers to cast their votes quickly with the push of a button, and the results would be recorded instantly. It was a clever idea, but there was one big problem. Politicians did not want it. They preferred the slow voting system because it gave them time to argue, persuade, or delay decisions. Edison was shocked. His invention was smart, but nobody wanted to use it. This failure could have discouraged him, but instead Edison learned a valuable lesson. Inventions must solve problems that people actually care about. He later said, "Anything that won't sell, I don't want to invent." This was not about money, it was about impact. Edison realized that for an invention to succeed, it must be useful and practical. After this early setback, Edison moved to Boston, a city known for science and innovation. He worked on improving telegraphs and studied the latest technologies. His skills grew, and he continued experimenting. Still, life was not easy. He often struggled with money, spending most of it on equipment and materials. There were days when he had almost nothing left, but his passion kept him going. Soon Edison moved again, this time to New York City. The city was alive with business, energy, and opportunity. At first, he arrived with little money in his pocket. In fact, one story says that when he first reached New York, he had to sleep in the office of a friend because he had nowhere else to go. But in New York, he quickly found work repairing telegraph machines. His skill impressed people, and he soon got the chance to develop new devices. In New York, Edison created one of his first successful inventions, a way to improve the stock ticker, a machine that reported stock prices. His version worked faster and more accurately than older models. This invention brought him real success and, for the first time, serious money. With the payment he received, Edison set up his own workshop where he could invent freely. But even in these early years, not everything Edison tried worked out. Some of his ideas failed completely. Yet he never allowed failure to stop him. Instead, he treated each mistake as a lesson. To him, failure was not the end. It was a step closer to success. By the end of this period, Edison was no longer just a curious boy or a telegraph operator. He was now a true inventor, a man ready to take risks, learn from failure, and keep pushing forward. The world had only begun to see what he was capable of. Part 5. The Menlo Park Years, 1876 onward. Every great inventor needs a place where ideas can come alive. For Thomas Edison, that place was Menlo Park, New Jersey. In 1876, at the age of 29, Edison built a laboratory there that would change his life and the world. This lab became the birthplace of some of the most important inventions in history, and it earned him the famous nickname, the Wizard of Menlo Park. The laboratory at Menlo Park was something new for its time. It wasn't just a small workshop. It was a place filled with tools, machines, chemicals, and the best equipment Edison could buy. He also brought together a team of talented assistants and workers. Edison believed in teamwork, saying, "I want a place where I can invent anything." Menlo Park became exactly that, a factory for ideas. One of the first great inventions from Menlo Park was the phonograph in 1877. For the first time in history, a person's voice could be recorded and played back. Imagine the shock and wonder people felt when they heard a machine repeat human speech. Edison himself recorded the words, "Mary had a little lamb," on his phonograph, and when it played back, people were amazed. Newspapers quickly spread the news, and Edison became world famous almost overnight. The phonograph showed that Edison was not just improving old machines. He was creating entirely new ways of experiencing life. But the phonograph was not his only achievement at Menlo Park. Around the same time, Edison also worked on the carbon microphone, which made the telephone much clearer and easier to use. Without Edison's microphone, Alexander Graham Bell's telephone would not have worked well enough for daily use. Edison's improvement helped the telephone become one of the most important communication tools in the world. Edison's Menlo Park years were full of energy and creativity. He and his team worked day and night, often sleeping in the lab. Edison was famous for his tireless work ethic. He once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." This meant that success came not from sudden ideas, but from hard work and determination. As more inventions came from Menlo Park, Edison's reputation grew. Journalists began to call him the Wizard of Menlo Park because it seemed like magic was happening in his laboratory. But Edison always insisted it was not magic, it was hard work, persistence, and the courage to try again after failure. By the end of the 1870s, Edison had moved from being just a clever inventor to becoming a national hero. People admired his creativity, his drive, and his ability to turn dreams into real machines. Menlo Park became a symbol of invention, and Edison became a symbol of human progress. This period marked the beginning of Edison's rise to greatness. The inventions of Menlo Park did not only make him famous, they also began to shape the modern world. And the best was still to come. Part 6. The Light Bulb and the Electrification of Cities. When people think of Thomas Edison, one invention shines the brightest, the electric light bulb. But the story is not just about creating light. It is about changing the way the entire world lived. Before Edison, cities were dark at night, lit only by gas lamps or candles. After Edison, nights were no longer filled with shadows. The world became brighter, safer, and more productive. Many inventors before Edison had tried to make an electric light bulb. Some had even succeeded in creating one, but their bulbs burned out quickly or were too expensive to use. Edison's genius was not only in inventing, but also in improving. He believed he could create a practical incandescent light bulb, one that would last long, give good light, and be affordable for everyone. In 1879, after thousands of experiments, Edison finally succeeded. He used a carbon filament inside a glass bulb, with all the air removed so the filament would not burn out quickly. When he turned it on, the bulb glowed beautifully and lasted for hours. This was the beginning of modern electric lighting. Edison said proudly, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His persistence had paid off. But Edison knew that inventing the light bulb was only part of the solution. For people to use it, they needed electricity in their homes and businesses. So he founded the Edison Electric Light Company in 1878 to build power systems. He worked on generators, wires, switches, and everything needed to bring electricity safely into buildings. In 1882, Edison opened the first electric power station in New York City on Pearl Street. The station supplied electricity to a few blocks of lower Manhattan. For the first time, shops and offices lit up with electric bulbs instead of gas lamps. Crowds gathered to see the new light shining through the windows at night. People were amazed. Electricity was no longer just for experiments. It was becoming part of everyday life. The success in New York spread quickly. Other American cities wanted electricity too, and soon Edison's system was being used across the country. His ideas even traveled abroad, with electric lighting appearing in cities in Europe and beyond. The world was changing. Work could continue after dark, streets were safer at night, and life became more comfortable. Of course, the road was not easy. Building power stations was expensive, and some people were afraid of electricity. Critics said it was dangerous, but Edison's confidence never wavered. He believed the future belonged to electric power, and he worked tirelessly to prove it. By the early 1880s, Edison was no longer just the wizard of Menlo Park. He was now seen as a leader of a new age, the age of electricity. His light bulb had done more than brighten homes. It had brightened the future of the world. Part 7. The War of Currents. Even the brightest ideas face battles. After Thomas Edison invented the practical light bulb and built power stations, he believed his system of electricity, direct current, DC, was the future. But not everyone agreed. Soon, Edison found himself in one of the biggest rivalries in the history of science, the War of Currents. Edison's direct current worked well for short distances. It was safe and reliable, but it could not travel far without losing power. To light an entire city, Edison would have needed many power stations, which was expensive. This was where another inventor entered the story, Nikola Tesla. Tesla, a brilliant engineer originally from Serbia, believed that alternating current, AC, was a better system. AC could travel much longer distances with little loss of energy. This meant fewer power stations and lower costs. Tesla shared his ideas with businessman George Westinghouse, who supported him and built AC power systems to compete with Edison's DC. The stage was set. Edison with DC on one side, Tesla and Westinghouse with AC on the other. The competition became fierce. Edison strongly defended DC because he had invested so much in it. He argued that AC was too dangerous and could kill people. To prove his point, Edison's team even gave public demonstrations showing how AC current could harm animals. These events shocked the public and created fear, but they also made Edison look ruthless. Tesla and Westinghouse, however, continued to push AC forward. They showed that AC could light entire cities more cheaply and more efficiently than DC. The turning point came in 1893, when Tesla and Westinghouse won the contract to power the World's Fair in Chicago. Millions of people saw the beauty of AC lighting, and it was clear which system had the future. Another great victory for AC came with the Niagara Falls Power Project. Engineers used Tesla's AC system to harness the power of the falls and deliver electricity miles away to the city of Buffalo, New York. This success proved once and for all that AC could do what DC could not. In the end, Edison lost the battle. AC became the standard for electricity around the world. Yet the war of currents shaped the modern electrical age. Without the rivalry, progress might have been slower. Competition pushed inventors to work harder and think bigger. Though Edison's DC system did not win, his role in starting the age of electricity remained vital. His inventions, businesses, and vision opened the door for Tesla and others to expand the technology. Today, we still use both AC and DC in different ways. AC for long-distance power and DC for batteries, electronics, and many modern devices. The war of currents showed that even the greatest minds can disagree. But it also showed that progress comes from bold ideas, strong competition, and the courage to challenge what seems impossible. Part 8. Later Inventions and Industrial Impact. Thomas Edison did not stop with light bulbs or electricity. Once he had changed the way people saw the world, he continued to invent new things that would shape modern life. His later years showed the world that Edison's mind never rested, and his work had a huge impact on industry, entertainment, and technology. One of Edison's most exciting inventions was the motion picture camera. In the late 1880s and early 1890s, he and his team created a machine that could record moving images. At first, the films were very short, just a few seconds, but they amazed people. Suddenly, the world could see life, events, and stories on a screen. This was the beginning of cinema, and Edison played a major role in giving people a completely new way to experience entertainment. His inventions helped to create the film industry, which would grow to become one of the largest industries in the world. Edison also worked on storage batteries. These batteries could store electricity for later use, which was important for devices and machines that needed a constant power supply. He believed that electricity should not only light homes and streets, but also power machines, vehicles, and factories. His improvements to batteries made many new technologies possible and inspired future inventors to create electric cars and portable devices. During this time, Edison continued to expand his laboratories and business empire. He did not work alone. He had teams of assistants who helped him test ideas, build machines, and solve problems. He opened new laboratories in New Jersey and other locations. Each lab became a hub of creativity, producing inventions in communication, energy, and entertainment. Edison's work also led to the creation of companies that would later become giants in the industry, such as General Electric. What made Edison truly remarkable was not just the number of inventions, but how he connected science with business. He knew that an invention is only valuable if people can use it in their daily lives. He combined creativity, technical skill, and business sense to bring ideas from the laboratory into the real world. Even in his later years, Edison was experimenting, working long hours, and always searching for the next big idea. He showed the world that invention is not a single moment, it is a lifelong journey. His work influenced electricity, movies, transportation, and industry, leaving a legacy that continues to touch every part of modern life. Thomas Edison's story teaches us a simple truth. Great inventors do not stop after one success. They keep learning, trying, and improving. Edison's later inventions remind us that imagination, hard work, and persistence can change the world. Part 9. Personal life and character. Thomas Edison was more than just an inventor. He was a father, a husband, a friend, and a hard worker. His personal life shaped the man behind the inventions and showed how his character helped him achieve greatness. Edison was married twice. His first wife, Mina Miller, was kind and supportive of his work. They had 3 children together, Marion, Thomas Jr., and William. Edison loved his children and often shared his curiosity with them, encouraging them to explore and experiment. Even with a busy life full of inventions and laboratories, he made time for family when he could. Family gave him stability and support, helping him face the challenges of his demanding career. Edison was famous for his work ethic. He believed that success came from hard work, not luck. He often worked for 16 to 18 hours a day, sleeping very little. He would sometimes take short naps in his laboratory to rest, then immediately return to his experiments. He said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. This means that ideas are important, but hard work is the key to making them real." Edison's dedication inspired many of his assistants and colleagues to work with the same passion. His habits and personality were unique. Edison loved experimenting constantly, asking questions and solving problems. He could be impatient when things did not work, but he never gave up. He was practical and focused, always thinking about how an invention could be useful to people. At the same time, he had a playful side, enjoying storytelling and joking with friends and workers in his laboratories. Edison also valued friendships and public image. He became friends with many important people of his time, including scientists, businessmen, and politicians. He enjoyed sharing his ideas and learning from others. People admired him not just for his inventions, but for his energy, determination, and ability to make ideas real. Newspapers called him the Wizard of Menlo Park because it seemed magical how he turned simple experiments into life-changing inventions. Despite his fame, Edison faced criticism too. Some people thought he was too focused on work and did not spend enough time with family or friends. Others disagreed with his business decisions, especially during the War of Currents. But Edison always remained true to himself. He focused on learning, creating, and improving the world. Thomas Edison's personal life teaches us that success is about more than talent. It is about balance, dedication, and character. His family supported him, his friends challenged him, and his habits shaped him into one of the most productive and influential inventors in history. His life shows that a strong character, hard work, and a passion for discovery can leave a lasting mark on the world. Part 10. Final Years and Legacy, 1931 and beyond. Even the brightest stars must eventually set. Thomas Edison, the man who had changed the world with his inventions, faced the final chapter of his life with courage and dignity. His later years were marked by declining health, but his mind remained active and full of ideas until the very end. As Edison grew older, his body grew weaker. He suffered from health problems that made working long hours difficult. Yet he never completely stopped inventing. He continued to experiment, write, and advise others. Even when tired, Edison remained curious, always thinking about how to make life better for people. His work ethic and love for discovery never faded. On October 18, 1931, Thomas Edison passed away at the age of 84. His death was felt around the world. Newspapers everywhere honored him, calling him a genius and a man who had transformed modern life. In the United States, flags were flown at half-mast, and people mourned the loss of a true innovator. Tributes poured in from leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens who had benefited from his inventions. Edison left behind a legacy that changed the world. His light bulb lit up homes and streets, making cities safer and more productive. His phonograph gave people music and entertainment like never before. His motion picture camera helped start the film industry, creating a new way for stories to be shared. His improvements to telegraphs, batteries, and other devices paved the way for modern communication and technology. Nearly every aspect of today's electrical and entertainment systems owes something to Edison's work. But Edison's influence goes beyond machines and inventions. He showed the world the power of curiosity, persistence, and hard work. He taught that failure is not the end, but a step toward success. He proved that even someone who struggles in school or faces challenges can change the world if they are willing to learn, experiment, and never give up. Today, Thomas Edison is remembered as one of the greatest inventors in history. Schools, museums, and books honor his life. His laboratories, especially Menlo Park, are symbols of creativity and innovation. Young inventors still look to him as an example of what is possible when imagination meets determination. Edison's story reminds us that one person's ideas can make life better for millions. He turned dreams into reality, light into darkness, and curiosity into progress. Though he passed away nearly a century ago, his inventions and spirit continue to shape the modern world. Thomas Edison did not just light bulbs, he lit the path for generations of inventors to follow. His life teaches us this simple truth: greatness is not about never failing, it is about never stopping. Edison's legacy will inspire people forever, showing that with passion, courage, and hard work, one person really can change the world. And that brings us to the end of Thomas Edison's story. His life was full of struggles, but also full of success. He was not a perfect student. He failed many times, but he never gave up, and in the end he changed the world. You, as an English learner, can do the same in your own journey. Learning a language is not easy. Sometimes you may feel slow. Sometimes you make mistakes. But remember, mistakes are not the end. They are steps that help you grow. Just like Edison, you can keep trying, keep learning, and keep moving forward. Here are 5 lessons from Edison's life that you can use for learning English and for life. Be curious. Ask questions. Want to learn more? Don't fear mistakes. Mistakes help you improve. Work hard. Practice every day, even a little. Think of others. Use English to connect and share. Never give up. Keep going, no matter how hard it feels. Thomas Edison gave light to the world. You, too, can bring light through your learning and your dreams. So don't stop now. Keep learning, keep trying, and one day you will see how far you have come.